So thank you for joining today's Bhakti class. So in the last week we were discussing about the birth of Pariksith Maharaj, wherein in the first few verses talked about the wonderful kingdom of Yudhishthira Maharaj, how was his rule and how was the opulence of the kingdom, etc. etc. Then about the birth of Pariksith Maharaj, who was personally protected by Lord Krishna, who entered into the womb, who appeared to Pariksith Maharaj like the size of a thumb, Angushta Matamalam, Sprot Mulana, Kundalam, etc. So all his beautiful form is described. And then eventually he was born at an auspicious moment. There in the purport Prabhupada talks about the importance of astrological charts, etc. Then the Brahmanas have performed Jatakarma ceremony. So that is where we kind of stop in the previous class. So we'll continue from there on. Tasya Prita Maharaja Viprair Dharmya Daumya Kupadibi Jatakam Karyamasa Vacha Itvacha Mangalam. So basically, Yudhishthira Maharaj engaged Krupa, Draumya and many other wonderful Brahmanas in order to perform this Jatakarma ceremony. Jatakarma ceremony is one of the important ceremony, which basically cutting the umbilical cord, which connects the mother to the child. So later on the Brahmana chanting various mantras and also the preparing the birth chart and predicting the future qualities and activities of that person who is born on that day and that particular point of time. So in that occasion, as Brahmanas were performing the Jatakarma ceremony, first part of the ceremony is over. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj gave wonderful gifts of charity to all the visiting Brahmanas. Hiranmayam Gam Mahim Gramam Hasti Ashwan Nrupatir Varan Pradat Sannam Chaviprebya Praja Tirthe Tirthabit. Understanding what should be given at a particular instance or particular context. So at the time of birth, whatever charity is supposed to be given, all such kind of charitable items such as gold, hiranyam, gam, cows, mahim, land, graman, villages, asti, elephants, ashwan, horses, and prada swarnam, the best quality of food. Because Brahmanas are supposed to be fed very nicely under any occasion. So all these were provided for all the Brahmanas, and they were all very much satisfied with this incident. So one interesting point is that Praja Tirtesa Tirtavit. So Yudhishthira Maharaj know that what should be given at what instant. So at the time of birth, what kind of charity should be given? Because the Brahmanas and Prabhupada writes here that in all the different occasions of samskaras, especially during the time of birth, marriage and death, wealth is distributed to the Brahmanas because the Brahmanas give the highest quality of service in regard to the prime necessity of humankind. The charity was substantial in the shape of gold, land, villages, horses, elephants, and food grains with other materials for cooking complete foodstuff. The Brahmanas were not therefore pure in the actual sense of the term. On the contrary, because they possessed gold, land, villages, horses, elephants, and sufficient grains, they had nothing to earn for themselves. They would simply devote themselves to the well-being of the entire society. So according to Varnashrama Dharma, the duties of the Brahmanas are Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Parigraha. Studying the Vedas, teaching the Vedas to other students, and Yajan, Yajan, performing the yajnas as their routine duties of their lifestyle, and also engaging others in performing yajnas, such as Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, for the performance of samskaras in their respective homes. And Dana Parigraha, they accept charity and give away the charities. They are not attached to accumulate more and more wealth in this world. Even though they make a good amount of charities, they only keep whatever is required for them and give the rest in charity to others who are needy. And that's why the Brahmanas are supposed to be given charities, because they are not interested in accumulating wealth. If the charities are given to other people who are interested in accumulating wealth, In spite of having what they want, what they need, still they have greedy to get more and more. That's why charities are all allowed only for Brahmanas. And the more important reason is that the Brahmanas have more important duty to perform for the society. Patan Patan, Yajan Yajan. If they are, if what you can say, if they are free of anxiety for their own maintenance, they can perform other activities very freely. That's why it is king's responsibility or the others' responsibility to take care of the Brahmanas so that they can do their service without any anxiety. That's why in the past, education was free. The Brahmanas are supposed to be the teachers. They are very nicely maintained by the government or the kings. So education was free for everyone. Only the students need to pay only Guru Dakshina. That too at the end of the education. That too if they so desire. According to their means. It is not that Guru Dakshina is common for all the students. According to the means and the capacity of the student, they can offer Guru Dakshina whatever they want to. Because anyway, Guru is maintained by the king. He does not need anything. It is only a loving reciprocation between the teacher and the students. But now, on the contrary, what kind of education is going on now? It is a big anxiety for the parents to take care of the education of the children. This is one of the reasons that many of the parents do not want to have more children. So maintaining them will be a very cumbersome procedure. Starting from nursery only, they have to pay lakhs of rupees. See the contrast between Vedic culture and the modern culture. So then we'll continue with the today's verse, etc. Tamochur brahmanastushta rajnam parashrayanvitam eshayi asmin prajatantu purunam pauravarshava daivena pratigatena shukle samstam upeyushi rato anugrahartaya vishnuna prabhavishnuna tasmannamna vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhagavato mahan. Someone read the translation.
The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as the chief amongst the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent of Purus. The Brahmana said, "The spotless son has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. In order to oblige you, he was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. Hare Krishna.
So here the Brahmanas came. They performed Jatakarma ceremony, that is cutting off the umbilical cord, chanting Vedic mantras, blessing the child with all the auspiciousness in the future. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj offered them all the charities. After receiving the charities, good amount of charities, like all the villages and gold, cows, and many other things, whatever they need. So all the Brahmanas became completely satisfied, and then they are speaking to the king. They are saying that, "Oh, best of men, Purusha Varshaba, Paura Varshaba." Rishabha means, so among all the fairest animals, the lion is considered to be the king of the forest. Among all the village animals, the bull is considered to be the king of the household animals. So any person, if they are supposed to be glorified, they will be compared with either bull or with lion. So in that way it is called. Oh, best among men, though the pure dynasty of Puru was destroyed by unavoidable destiny in the battlefield, Everyone from the side of Pandavas died, from the family of Pandavas. Not only the associated kings, their own family members, because all the five Pandava sons are died. Draupadi's 5 sons were died. Their individual sons also died through other wives. And from the Kaurava side also, everyone died. All the under Kauravas and their children, their grandchildren, no one was survived. The only surviving member is Pariksith Maharaj. So that's why it is mentioned here that though the pure dynasty of the Puru was destroyed by unavoidable destiny, the son has been given as mercy to you by the powerful Vishnu. Rato va anugrahartaya Vishnuna Prabha Vishnuna. So by Lord Vishnu, whose power is uncounterable. So from that Lord's mercy, out of his causeless mercy, one son was protected. Ratova, he was protected. Therefore, he will be known as Vishnu Rata. Tasman Nanna Vishnu Rata iti loke bhavishyati. Since Parikshit Maharaj was protected by Lord Vishnu personally when he was in the womb, he will be known as Vishnu Rata, he who is protected by Lord Vishnu. Or another meaning is that gift of Lord Vishnu. He is a gift of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu gave him as a gift to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And without doubt, Nasandeho Mahabhaga, oh great fortunate king, without doubt, this child will be Mahabhagavato Mahan. In this world, he will be the best, the greatest among all the devotees. So this is the prediction of the great sages, all the great Brahmanas who are all assembled there. So many points are mentioned in this purports. We'll go through slowly. Though the pure dynasty of the Purus was destroyed, almost destroyed completely, this son was given as a gift to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Then the Brahmanas say that without doubt, though the king may not believe it, but they say that without doubt, Nasandeho, please do not have any doubt. This son is a great devotee. Mahabhagavato Mahan. Like that is silly. So, because without hearing that Yudhishthira Maharaj was so happy by having a son, since he had pleased all the Brahmanas, Shastra says that Putre jate veti pate dattam bhavati cha akshayam. What is given in charity at the time of birth of a son or during calamity as indestructible results. The previous verse talked about charities. So now we see the effect of the charity. Of course, not only charity, but many other things are there. But one of the immediate effect of the charity you can see. Whatever charities that are given at the time of the child birth and at the time of calamity will have immortal results. Putre jate veti pate dattam bhavati cha akshayam. It will give akshaya results. So when somebody is in need, actually, if something is offered to them, that will give unlimited results in return in the future. So in that way. So in the case of Yudhishthira Maharaj, you can see what kind of a great son he had obtained. So in that way. Of course, that is not just because of charities, but from the point of charities, you can see. So Lord Prabhupada writes in the purport for the 16th verse, the child Pariksith was saved by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu for two reasons. First one is that the child in the womb of his mother was spotless due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. Because since he is a devotee, Lord protected. Pratigna tava Govinda name bhakte pranashyati. The second reason is that the child was the only surviving male descendant of Puru, the pious forefather of virtuous king Yudhishthira. The Lord wants to continue the line of the pious kings to rule over the earth as his representative for the actual progress of the peaceful and prosperous life. So Lord Krishna wanted that the dynasty of the Pandavas should continue. So he protected the last remnant of Pandava dynasty. So in that way. So why did he allow the Pandavas to become victorious in the battlefield? Why did he allow Parikshit Maharaj to be saved? It is all to fulfill his mission. God has a mission to reclaim the conditioned souls from this material existence. The Lord desires the conditioned souls hovering in the material creation to be reclaimed back to Godhead, back to Godhead. And thus he helped them by preparing the transcendental literatures like the Vedas, by sending Thus, you see, Lord has multiple things to do. Thus, he helped the conditioned souls. How? First, by preparing the transcendental literature like the Vedas. By becoming Vyasa, he writes all the Vedas, all the Upanishads, Puranas, etc. And by sending the missionaries of saints and sages, by sending the acharyas time and again, and by deputing his representatives, the spiritual masters. So, like that, there are various means. And sometimes he himself comes and enacts various pastimes. Such transcendental literature, missionaries, and representatives of the Lord are spotlessly white because the contamination of the material qualities cannot even touch them. So, one such missionary is Pariksith Maharaj. As a king, he is going to provide all the necessary circumstances so that people can come back to Godhead. So, it is like that. So, that was the reason he protected Pariksith Maharaj in order to fulfill his mission. So, in that way. And in the next part, Prabhupada talks about the devotees. So, what kind of Mahabhagavata means? He is like Uttamadhikari devotee, is not an ordinary devotee. Prabhupada talks about from an OD. What are the qualities of a Mahabhagavata devotee? Or Uttamadhikari, then Madhyamadhikari, then Ganishtadhikari, all those details um, mentions. And then he talks about a Mahabhagavata devotee at the end of the purport, the last paragraph, or one paragraph only. The devotee who may be in any of these categories is automatically qualified by all good qualities, and thus a Mahabhagavata devotee like Maharaj Parikshit. He is certainly perfect in all respects. And because Maharaj Parikshit took his birth in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthir, he is addressed herein as Mahabhagavata, or the greatest of the fortunates. The family in which Mahabhagavata takes his birth, kindly pay attention. The family in which a Mahabhagavata takes birth is fortunate because due to the birth of a first grade devotee, the members of the family in the past, in the present, and the future, up to 100 generations become liberated by the grace of the Lord out of respect for his beloved devotee. Therefore, the highest benefit is done to one's family is simply by becoming an allied devotee of the Supreme Lord. So one may become blissful by hearing these words, but understanding is not that just by one person becoming devotee, all understanding is not like that. By one becoming devotee, others will be placed in favorable circumstances. They will be exposed to devotional service. They need to work hard for their own deliverance. They will become fortunate enough to come in contact with the devotees association. It's not that okay, one person became devotee and rest all will become delivered. Not like that. Of course, certainly they will have the good fortune and blessing of Supreme Lord Acharyas, but they also need to endeavor for their own spiritual perfection.
So there's one situation, Prahlad Maharaj, when he asks like, okay, you're 27
generations will be delivered. But
still,
Bali Maharaj, have to go through the exam. He had to surrender himself completely. That made him qualified. But because of Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Vishnu personally came to the assembly of Bali Maharaj. Otherwise, somebody else would have come there. Lord Vishnu would have empowered Indra only to go and defeat Bali Maharaj. Because he is coming in the line of Bali Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Vishnu personally came and showed special favor. So it's like that.
What about the other generations?
What other generations?
Bali Maharaj's son and his sons.
Bali Maharaj's son Banasura. He became a devotee of Lord Shiva. And Lord Krishna had fight with him. He had 500 hands or 1000 hands. I think 1000 arms. 500 right, 500 left. So he cut off 996 arms. He left him with 4 arms. He did not kill him because he's coming in the line of. So as of now, he's a devotee of Lord Shiva. Eventually, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, he will become devotee of Lord Krishna and then he will be delivered. It will take some time. So they also need to endeavor, na? जब तक endeavor नहीं करेंगे तब तक होगा नहीं. But he got the association of Krishna. His pride was reduced. Now he became humble. So eventually understand. So he'll understand the practice of bhakti. So it's like that.
sometimes it's in this case,
the Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed as Mahabhagat. So the entire family where he comes from, all are Mahabhagatas. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj.
They are
all.
By their own virtue, they are all Mahabhagavatas. So it is like that. Pandu was a great devotee. Their forefathers, Bhishma is a great devotee. Even their forefathers, Bharat Maharaj is himself Lord's expansion only. Like that, all the great kings are supposed to be the king. Later on we read who can become a king. It's one of the important aspects will come. A devotee only qualified to become a king. In a sense, a king is supposed to be a devotee. And person in the administrative role should be supposed to be a devotee. Then only you can fulfill the mission of the Lord. Otherwise, simply exploitative game. So it's like that. Of course, by good fortune, the Pandavas entire dynasty, everyone is a great devotee in that line. So that is wonderful. So that is understanding. This is my understanding of this line. I mean, the different devotees might have different opinions. So whether Lord Narasimhadev is telling to Prahlad Maharaj that 21 generations of yours will be delivered here, whether Prabhupada is writing this, but it is all they will be getting the favorable circumstances where they can take up bhakti easily and become perfect. So, but they need to work hard. So without that, things will not happen.
There is that most of the lectures like Gaurang Prabhu is this thing that he's chanting and his family is like आप chanting करते रहो और मैं हम लोग अच्छा करते रहेंगे. That story is always being highlighted in our lectures.
ऐसा नहीं होता.
ऐसा नहीं होता ना.
They need to work hard. उनके लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलता है. सी हमारे लिए हमको क्या हो गया, बहुत सालों के बाद रिवॉर्ड का ऑप्शन मिला, बट उनका फैमिली को अभी में तुरंत मिल जाएगा. अभी जो भी नया बच्चा बर्न विल टेक बर्थ इन दैट फैमिली, तुरंत दे विल गेट एसोसिएशन डिवोटीज. So in that sense, they will the small children will hear about, okay, your uncle or you are this, you are that is already a devotee. So from the very beginning they get to see, get to hear. So that is a good fortune. Otherwise, if no one is there is devotee in that family, so later on when they come to highways, they may get to come in the association of devotees, something like that. So it's like that. So some here, some of the previous chapters talked about how Lord Krishna protected the Pandavas and Uttara, etc. In the 8th chapter, we saw that when Lord Krishna was about to depart, Uttara came running towards Krishna. Pahi pahi mahayogin devadeva jagatpate nanyam tvad abhayam pashe yatra mrityu parasparam. So in this world, no one can give fearlessness except you, my dear Lord. Please protect me, please protect me. Why? So then she said that Abhidravati Mamesha Sharas Tapya Yasho Vibho Kamam Dadau Mam Nata Mame Garbo Nipatatam. She says that there is a burning arrow following after me. Let it burn me, no problem. But let it not burn my child. This is only my desire. Please protect me. So this was the request of Uttara. Then hearing Uttara's words, Lord Krishna was affectionate to his devotees. Understood that Ashwatthama had sent a Brahmastra weapon to destroy the remaining dynasty of Pandavas. But Lord Krishna entered into the womb of Uttara, expanding himself as Vasudev, Chaturpuja Vasudev, whirling his gara around the Brahmastra, nullified the Brahmastra, and protected the womb of Uttara. The embryo was saved. Because Krishna himself covered that entire embryo. So therefore, one should not consider this to be astonishing or surprising for Krishna. Protecting the womb is not a big activity for Krishna. Because Lord Krishna is having untold powers. He creates, maintains, and destroys the universes by his power of Maya Shakti. Then what to speak of nullifying a Brahmastra? So, like that, Sutta Goswami talks about it in the 8th chapter in the past. So, then, now, having heard that, he heard that, Nasandeho Mahabhaga Mahabhagoto Maha. My dear king, do not have any doubt. He is certainly a great devotee. Then, out of curiosity, to want to know more about Parikshit Maharaj, Maharaj Yudhishthira is inquiring from the same Brahmanas. He says that Apishesha Vamshan Rajarshin Punyashlokan Mahatmana Anuvartita Svidyashasa Sadhuvadena Sattama.
The good king Yudhishthira inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king as pious in his very name and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family.
Api Esha Vamshan Rajarshin Punyashlokan Mahatmana. So, my dear great Brahmanas, in our dynasty, there were so many great Rajarshis whose glories were sung all over the universe. They were glorified not only on the earth, but also are glorified in the heaven also. So many greatly pious kings have been born in our dynasty. Will this child will be a follower of those wonderful kings? Vishnu Maharaj is not saying that we are so great. Will he be our follower? Will he be like us? Like that is not asking. In the past, in this Chandra Vamsha, there are so many great kings. Will he be like them? So like that is asking. So Anuvartita Swid Yashasa Sadhuvadayana Sammata. Will he be accepted by all the great sages? Sadhuvadayana Sammata. As one among the great kings of the Puru dynasty. Will he possess all such wonderful qualities? Having heard that Pariksith would be a great devotee, the astonished king inquired with reverence, will he be like them or not, possessing their qualities? Will he be like our past kings? Will he be glorified? Will he what do you say? Will he continue the legacy of our Chandra Vamsha? Like that, Vishnu Maharaj is asking. So, someone can read the purport. This is one of the important purport. Hare Krishna online devotees.
The forefathers of King Yudhishthira were all great saintly kings, pious and glorified by their great achievements. They were all saints on the royal throne, and therefore all the members of the state were happy, pious, well behaved, prosperous, and spiritually enlightened. Under strict guidance of the great souls and spiritual injunctions, such great saintly kings were trained up, and as a result of the kingdom was full of saintly persons and was a happy land of spiritual life. Maharashtra Yudhishthira was himself a replica of his ancestors, and he desired that the next king after him become exactly like his great forefathers. He was happy to learn from the learned Brahmanas that by astrological calculations, the child would be born a first grade devotee of the Lord, and more confidentially, he wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers. That is the way of the monarchical state. The reigning of king should be a pious, chivalrous devotee of the Lord and fear personified for the upstarts. He must also leave an heir apparent equally qualified to rule over the innocent citizens. In the modern setup of the democratic states, the people themselves are fallen to the qualities of Sudras or less, and the government is run by the representative who is ignorant of the spiritual mode of administrative education. Thus, the whole atmosphere is surcharged with Sudra qualities and manifested by lust and avarice. Such administration quarrel every day among themselves. The cabinet of ministers changes often due to party and group selfishness. Everyone wants to exploit the state resources till he dies. No one retires from political life unless forced to do so. How can such a low grade men do good to the people? The result is corruption, intrigue, and hypocrisy. This should They should learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam how ideal the administrators must be before they can given charge of different posts.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So this purport talks about some of the important qualities should be possessed by a person who would be becoming the leader, who will be becoming the administrative leader. So by hearing these words, okay, we may think that okay, I am not the leader, I am not the king, I don't have to worry, etc., etc. So not like that. Such kind of qualities are also important for every leader of the family also. Even the mother and father, the leaders of the family also should possess such kind of qualities in order to lead their family properly. As the proverb says, Yata Raja Tata Praja, Yata Pita Tata Putra, Yata Guru Tata Shishya. So, whomsoever we may lead, they will develop our qualities only. So, it is the responsibility of every parent, every teacher, and every leader to possess the scriptural expected rules, expected qualities. In that way. Now, starting from the next verse, almost till the end of the chapter, the Brahmanas are referring to the birth chart of Pariksith Maharaj. They are going to predict what kind of qualities will be displayed by this Pariksith child and what kind of activities he will perform in the future. This is basically the reading of the birth chart, the rest of the remaining chapter. So, Brahmana Uchu. Partha Prajavita Sakshat Ikshvakur Iva Manava Brahmanya Satya Sandascha Ramo Dasharathir.
The learned Brahmana said, O son of Pratha, the child shall be exactly like King Ishvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as far as following the Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaja Dasharatha.
Yeah. So, in order to tell what kind of qualities he would possess, one example is shown. The personality of the past. So, O son of Pratha, Partha. So, O son of Pratha, he will be the protector of the citizens. Praja Avita. Exactly like King Ikshvaku. King Ikshvaku was known for protecting the children very nicely like his own sons. So King Ikshvaku is the son of the current running Manu, 7th Manu, Vaibhav Manu, who is the son of sun god. So in protecting his subjects, he will be like exactly like Ikshvaku, in whose dynasty Lord Rama appeared. And then he is charitable to the Brahmanas and true to his promise, Satya Sandha, exactly like Lord Rama, the son of Dasharath Maharaj. So Lord Rama is known for giving charities and also protecting the Brahmanas and also true to his promises. Whatever promises he made, he was true to all those promises. So in respect to these kind of qualities, he is like Lord Rama. So very simple comparison, very famous personalities. So it is like that. You asked, the Brahmanas are saying that, you asked if he would have fame like that of the previous kings. All their qualities by which they became famous exist in this boy now. And at the occasion arises, they will manifest. This boy possesses all the qualities, but now you may not see. But whenever the occasion comes, he will manifest all these qualities. Therefore, the previous kings were not equal to him because since he had the qualities of all of them. So we are going to see many people. So those people were famous for one of the qualities. But this child will possess all the qualities. So you will have the fame of all the other kings. So he's, in one sense, he's more greater than all of them. This is what we have observed. With this intention, they speak. The Brahmanas speak. So it is like that. So someone can read the Parapat, maybe for the first 3 lines of the next page. The first page full and second page 3 lines.
Praja means the living being who has taken his birth in the material world. Actually, the living being has no birth and no death, but because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. In doing so, one becomes conditioned by the laws of material nature, and the material body is changed in terms of his own work. The living entity thus transmigrates from one body to another in 8,40,000 to 84 lakh species of life. But due to his being the part and parcel of the Lord, he not only is maintained with all necessities of life by the Lord, but also is protected by the Lord and his representatives. The saintly kings, the saintly kings give protection to all the prajas or living beings to live and to fulfill their terms of imprisonment. Maharaja Pariksith was actually an ideal saintly king because while touring his kingdom, he happened to see the poor cow was about to be killed by the personified Kali. whom he at once took to task as a murderer. This means that even the animals were given protection by the saintly administrators, not from any sentimental point of view, but because those who have taken their birth in the material world have the right to live. All the saintly kings, beginning from the king of the sun globe down to the king of the earth, are so inclined by the influence of the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literature are taught in higher planets also, and there is reference in the Bhagavad Gita 4.1 about the teachings of the sun god Vishwashu by the Lord, and that such lessons are transferred by disciplic succession, as it was done by the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to Maharaja Ishwaku, and
Okay,
thereafter.
Mataji, stop. So here it shows the importance of the kings to be saintly. If the kings are not saintly, they cannot provide protection to all the living entities. If the kings are selfish, they may apparently provide some necessities of human beings, but they destroy the animals and other species. So that is not. Praja means any living species out of 8.4 million species. So king is responsible to protect all of them because the Lord's duty is to maintain everyone. King is the representative of Supreme Lord, so king is supposed to maintain and protect all of them. So that is the important duty of the king. So from that point of view, Pariksith Maharaj possessed the qualities of Ikshvaku and also Lord Rama in order to protect uh, all these different living entities. So both Lord Rama, both in the kingdom of Lord Rama and in the kingdom of Ikshvaku, everyone was nicely taken care. Everyone was nicely protected. So it is like that. So some details about them are mentioned in the purports. Later on you can read. So next verse as it continues. Eshadata Sharannascha Yata hi Aushina Rashibi Yasho Vinita Swanam Dausyantir Iva Yajvanam.
The child will be a manifested donor of the charity and the protector of the surrender, like the famous King Sibi of the universe country, and he will expand the name and the fame of his family, like Bharata, the son of the Maharaj Dushyant.
Yeah, here some of the other qualities are mentioned. He is a donor and protector of those who surrender to him, like King Shibi, who is the king of the Ushnara province, and will spread the fame of sacrifices and family members like Bharata, son of Dushmanta. So King Shibi was very well known for giving charity. He went to the extent that he was ready to offer his own flesh in exchange of protecting one bird to the eagle. So that was the great this thing. Later on, we read in the first canto only. So unable to see the cow and bull are being tormented by Kali, Parikshit Maharaj took up his sword to kill Kali. But when Kali surrendered, he gave protection, but gave punishment also. Don't stay in my kingdom. Go to places where sinful activities are taking place. So something like that. Even though somebody is enemy, if he surrendered, they give protection. So in that way. Oh, can someone read the first paragraph of the purport? No, not first part. Maybe some part of the purport. This only 20th.
Starting.
No.
A king becomes famous by his acts of charity, performances of yajnas, protection of the surrendered, etc. A Kshatriya king is proud to give protection to the surrendered souls. This attitude of a king is called Ishwara Bhav, or factual power to give protection in the righteous cause. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord instructs living beings to surrender unto him, and he promises all protection. The Lord is all powerful and true to his word, and therefore he never fails to give protection to his different devotees. The king, being the representative of the Lord, must possess this attitude of giving protection to the surrendered souls at all risks.
Okay. So later on the story goes about King Shibi and other people. So this is the quality a king supposed to possess. A king is the direct representative of Supreme Lord. So the king, without any discrimination, supposed to protect all the living entities. Like Shibi, it's not even a human being. It is a small bird looking for protection. He was ready to offer his own flesh at the cost of his own life in order to protect the bird. That's how he became famous even today. So that's how a king should possess the quality of protecting others. So Shibi was the ruler of the province of Ushinara. He protected a pigeon who had surrendered to him by offering his own flesh to a hawk. And then Bharat Maharaj. So Esho Vitanita. So he will spread the fame of sacrifices and family members like Bharata, who is the son of Dushyanta. Daushanti refers to son of Dushyanta. So Bharat Maharaj is one of the famous king in the line of Chandravamsha. So Bharata was the son of Dushyanta or Dushmanta. He performed many sacrifices and ruled for 27,000 years. 9th canto will talk about Bharat Maharaj later on greatly. He ruled for 27,000 years. Under Maharaj Bharata, heaven and earth provided all necessities for his subjects. I am reading this from 9th canto. Some notes I put it here. Bharata, considering his orders and army, his wealth and his dominion, which was greater than that of the Devatas, all to be false, he gave them all up. Though he performed more than 100 sacrifices, though his fame is spread all over the universe, though he ruled for 20,000 years, but he was not at all attached to any other thing, any of the thing of this material world. At the right time, he gave up everything, went to Vanaprasad and went back to Godhead. That is the greatness of Bharat Maharaj. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that there are 3 Bharatas in our history. One is son of Rishabdev, second one is the brother of Lord Ram, third one is son of Dushyanta. So these 3 are very well known. Because of them, our province is known as Bharatavarsha. So especially because of Bharat Maharaj, son of Lord Rishabdev only it came, but this Bharat Maharaj is very recent one, so it continued on. So it is like that. So Shibi Maharaj example and also Bharat Maharaj, some of the details are there in the purport. Later on you can read. For more details you can read Ramayana, Mahabharata. Shibi Maharaj is glorified in Ramayana because he comes in Surya and Bharat Maharaj is glorified in Mahabharata. He comes in Chandravamsha. So Mahabharata Adi Parva and Ramayana Balakanda will talk about them elaborately. For more details, you can refer to them. So then one interesting point here, the 21st verse. Danvinam Agranir Esha Tulyascharjuna Yordvaya Hutasha Iva Durdarsha Samudra Iva Dustara.
This child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be as irresistible as fire and unsurpassable as the ocean.
He is the best of archers like Arjuna and Kartavirya. They are the 2 Arjunas who are very famous in the history. And he is intolerable as fire. Hutasha Iva Durdarsha. We cannot bear the heat of fire. Especially now we are getting into summer. So it becomes unbearable to withhold the summer heat. That is also one form of fire. So very difficult to look at and very difficult to bear. He will be like that. And Samudra Iva Dustara. He will be insurmountable at the ocean. Thara means to cross, to go move across. How can a person swim across the ocean? Can anyone? Can anyone swim across the ocean? So he will be like that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Prabhuji, you are telling about 2 Arjuna, no? So, who is second one? I just want to know.
Kartavir Arjuna. He comes in Ramayana. So for more details, you can read Ramayana. Ramayana Balakanda only. Not Balakanda, Uttarakhand, I think.
Okay. Can you tell a little more about him?
Little more. So
Yes. What is his background or that?
9th canto talks about Lord Parashuram, the pastime of Lord Parashuram. Kartavir Arjuna was the king coming in the line of Chandra dynasty. So he is a powerful king. He was the disciple of Lord Dattatreya. So he attained so many mystic powers. He also had 1,000 arms. He's so powerful, he had 1,000 arms. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Kartavir Arjuna had 1,000 arms. So at one point of time, along with his queens and other consorts, he was playing in Narmada River. So same time, Ravana was on world tour, conquering all the devatas here and there, etc., etc. So he kind of stationed on the bank of Narmada River at upstream, somewhere up. So he was performing his morning worship of Lord Shiva next to the river bank, on the river bank. So worshipping, doing some flower abhishek or whatever it is, whatever is mode of worship he was doing. So somewhere downstream, Kartavir Arjuna was playing with his wife and other consorts. So he wanted to display his power in front of his wives. So using his the 1,000 arms, he kind of created a kind of bridge to the flow of the Narmada River. The water stopped flowing ahead. So the water is getting accumulated. Eventually, in no time, the place where Ravana worshipping Shiva's deity, that Shiva Linga, is getting inundated. That area was got washed away. So then Ravana became angry. He sent his messengers, go and find out what happened downward. They went and saw everything. They reported Ravana that there is a king who is stopping the flow of water. Then Ravana comes very much angrily in order to fight with Kartavir Arjuna. So he started bashing in front of the ladies and started throwing weapons at Kartavir Arjuna. So Kartavir Arjuna becomes very angry. He comes out of the water. Without much effort, he captured Ravana like a monkey. Just like a monkey is captured by anybody, with his 1,000 arms, he simply captures Ravana. So Kartavir Arjuna was the second person who easily defeated Ravana. The first one was Vali. Of course, Vali at least he underwent some time. Of course, Vali should not go through trouble. He just simply put him in on rampage and he traveled all the 4 oceans in 4 directions. So Kartavir Arjuna also simply caught him and bound him in the prison. Then Pulasya, great grandfather of Ravana, came and requested Kartavir Arjuna, please release him. So out of spur of the moment he came and kind of disturbed you, please release him. So by the request of Pulasya, Kartavir Arjuna released Ravana. So that was the power of Kartavir Arjuna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
He ruled for 84,000 years, the entire. Of course, later on, at one point of time, by looking at the cow of Jamadagni, he became desirous of having that cow. Jamadagni said that so you are a king, you have many things. I may being a Brahman, I need to perform sacrifice. This cow will give me all the necessities of sacrifice. Please leave it. King said that no, I'm king, I'm supposed to produce everything best. So somehow he took away, understanding what he did. Parshuram went and cut off his 1,000 arms, cut off his head also. That was the past time. Comes in the 9th canto. So taking that, then later on, when he had 500 sons, Parshuram did not kill the sons, but the sons became very angry. When Parshuram was away, the 500 sons of Kartavir Arjuna came and cut off the head of Jamadagni, and they took away the head, kind of tit for tat. So Parshuram became very angry. These Kshatriyas never learn a lesson. So he came and killed all the 500 sons, revived his father, etc. But he eventually understand this Kshatriyas already spoiled. For 21 generations, he killed all the Kshatriyas. Whoever is born new, killed them. But not exactly born as soon as they are born. As soon as they become king, as soon as they sit on the throne, they were killed by Parshuram. For 21 generations, no one survived.
All those things were impious things.
हाँ क्या करें अभी फादर इम्पायस है तो सन भी इम्पायस होगा ना यथा पिता तथा पुत्र संस्कार will come now. So it is like that. So that was the history connected to Kartavir Arjuna. So during those 21 generations, so as soon as if one person supposed to be the king, is supposed to be married. So marriage and the coronation will happen together generally, or one after the other immediately. So he became king, he died. The queen is just married, so no children. So to the process of begetting children through the Brahmanas, they begot children. So over 25 generations, the entire Kshatriya blood is replaced by Brahmana blood, so that their contaminated consciousness has changed. So then, what do you say? Parshuram kind of relieved. Okay, now the kings are pious now. I don't have to do any harm. So it's like that.
You only kill the dynasty of Kartaviriya or
All the kings, any Kshatriya, every Kshatriya were kind of.
Neek Kshatriya, so he made fertility as Neek Kshatriya, rid of Kshatriya. At that time.
ऐसा नहीं क्षत्रिय थे, but कोई राजा नहीं था, राजा नहीं था. Throne was empty. As soon as one sits on the throne, he was killed. So it's like that.
That is why I have Dasharath Maharaj.
Every time Dasharath was getting new marriage, whenever Parashuram would come, because he would not harm anyone while marrying or under the protection of women. He only spared a couple of kings. One is Dasharath Maharaj. Second one is Janak Maharaj. Some kings here and there. Otherwise, he kind of killed everyone. So it is not that Parashuram was killing indiscriminately. He knows Dasharath Maharaj is a pious king, so he did not. Otherwise, he would have come next day. But he did not do it, even for him also. Janak Maharaj also did not kill, because understanding their greatness, he kind of did not harm, did not kill them. So it's like that. So that was the history of Kartavir Arjuna. He was a great. Of course, it is not that he's what do you say, condemned like that. But somehow or other, at the spur of the moment, he developed a desire to possess that cow. That was the only one mistake he did. Otherwise, a great religious king. He's a very powerful king. He had ruled over 85,000 years, and he conducted many Ashwameda sacrifices. He gave a lot of charities. He protected everyone very nicely. Only one mistake he did, because what we can say, this is said, na? Generally, at the time of when the death approaches, person becomes deranged, something like that. So because the death was approaching, so he behaved like that, something like that. Otherwise, he is a disciple of Lord Dattatreya. He is a very nice gentleman, powerful man. So it is there.
Again, I mean, this was like the will of the Lord or something, because even Pariksith Maharaj was a great king, and he hanging a snake on the knee is like, cannot expect such a thing from Parikshit.
Okay.
So how does
We can say Kartavir Arjuna can be will of the Lord. Also, sometimes what can be done? The power corrupts. He had so much physical power, so much kingly power also. So that also can be.
we cannot connect this and Parikshit?
No.
That's a very totally different aspect.
Total different. So
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
That Kartavirya Arjuna, when we misplace any important article or anything, we pray to Kartavirya Arjuna, and एक mantra hai. Kartavirya Arjuna Rajanam Namanam Nashtam Labdhyade. Like that, we get it back then if we pray to him.
Okay.
That is there in the scriptures, or it is a story?
I don't know. It may be there in some other scriptures. Not in the Bhagavatam, but somewhere else it must be there. There could be some
so much powerful he is. Yeah. So you pray for him, meditate on him, and pray, and you get the article back.
हो सकता है. So Kartavir Arjuna was very well known for Dhanvi Nam, archery skills, and Arjuna also very well known for archery skills. So from Parikshit Maharaj will be like Arjuna, will be like Kartavir Arjuna in using his weapons, especially the bow and arrow. So that's how the comparison is shown. Mr. Prabhupada writes about Arjuna for 2-3 pages. His entire life history is there. Somebody, so the full snip, what to say, full history of Arjuna entirely. So you can go through and understand what Arjuna is all about. And then Suta Goswami, of course, the Brahmanas further continue. They say that Mrugendra eva Vikranto Nisevyo himavaniva titikshurvasudevasau Sahishnu pitarau iva.
Child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountain. He will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents.
Yeah. So some of the other qualities. Mrugendra iva vikranto. He is as courageous as a lion. Does anyone see cowardness in a lion or even lion cub? No. They are always even the household dog is generally called as Griha Simha. A dog with a master also behaves courageous. When anyone comes, any trespassers passes by the home, they start barking like anything. Because the dog knows I have a master, something like that. That's why dog is called as Griha Simha. So in the forest, the lion is king. So being a king, he is not afraid of anyone. He is always courageous. So even the huge gigantic elephant comes in front, but he will never give up. He fights. And Nisevyo Himavan Iva. He was honored like the Himalayas. The Himalayas are honored. Prabhupada writes that Himalayas are honored for all the minerals and jewels. They are all there in the Himalayas. We hear from Ramayana that Sanjeevani Booty, that what was the mountain? Gandhamadana mountain, which is also from Himalaya mountain only. So it is filled with all the Aushadis.
Still there.
Huh?
Is it still there?
Still there. जाने का आपको?
He said discounting.
किधर?
Yeah, Sri Lanka is still there. No Sri Lanka.
That is not this Himalayas. This is the greater Himalayas, which you can't see.
Different dimension.
Different dimension.
Which Himalayas?
Greater Himalayas. Those who attend Kasmala seminar will understand where is that. So not in our Himalayas, Indian Himalayas. There is a great Himalayas above Bharata Varsha. There is a huge Himalayas. There Gandhamadana mountain is there. From there Hanumanji brought it and I can put it back. Planet kahan hai? Not on this earth. Outside. In Jammu-Dipa. So it is somewhere different place.
This Himalaya that is referred over here. We are referring to that.
That
particular
those
Jammu
Himalayas.
Manju went there.
Hanumanji went there. Hanumanji can go there. What Hanumanji? Pandavas also went there. Their whole life was there only. They were born there in the great Himalayas. They were grown up there for 15 years. And during their Vanavas, they went there. Their Bhima fought with Yakshas.
Departure also there, India.
Departure also they went there only. From there only their departure happened. That is where Lord Shiva resides even today. The greater Himalayas, Lord Shiva's Kailash is there. The main Kailash. Lord Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh, Kartikeya. All those family members, they reside there only. Upper Himalayas.
They are not visible to the our normal people.
Yeah.
It's very beyond.
If one can become
Very
like Madhvacharya, one can visit. One can visit and see.
Vyasa also there.
Vyasa is still there. Vyadev is still there. Lord Shiva is still there. Narayana and Rishi performing tapasya there. They are all there.
Beyond our normal vision.
That is Badrikashram here. It is a replica of that original place. It is not the original place. This Badrikashram, this Kailash, this Manasarovar, whatever we can say, Vyasa Gufa, they are all replica of the original places. The original places are there in the greater Himalayas. The replicas are there in our Himalayas. Badrinath,
This
Kedarnath.
Kailash Mansarovar.
Kailash
Kailash
is also a replica of the original Kailash. The original Kailash in the greater Himalayas where Lord Shiva personally stays. In our Kailash Manasarovar, we only have the deity of Lord Shiva. So it is like that.
Okay.
So the greater Himalayas has one mountain called as this Gandhamadana, which was brought by Hanumanji with Sanjeevani Booty, with which all the monkeys along with Lord Ram and Lakshman were revived. So in that way. So Himalayas were glorified. And that Himalayas king, the personified form of Himalayas was the Himavat Raja. His daughter was not Sati, Parvati. Lord Shiva married her. So in that way. So recently क्या हुआ था ना कौन सा शिवरात्रि that was like their marriage day. So He will be honored like the great Himalayas, and he'll be tolerant like earth. Earth is tolerant in all respects. Does earth ever say no, no, you cannot live on my surface? Even though we are so sinful, so intolerable, still earth never says, tolerates. And he will be patient like the mother and father. So it's like that. The earth, though all enduring, does not experience the pain of others' sharp words. Though people come and claim that, okay, this is my earth, this is my building, this is my property, this is my kingdom. People come and claim, go and go. They can't stay here eternally. But as long as they are there, they claim, this is my property, this is mine, this is mine. There are a lot of fights, so many things happen. But Mother Earth simply endures. अभी कितना दिन आज आप बोलेंगे मेरा है करके कल और कोई बोलेगा मेरा है करके, like that it goes on, but it does not belong to anybody. Actually earth and everything belongs to Supreme Lord only. It is Lord's creation that no one understands it. So the earth, though all enduring, does not experience the pain of other sharp words, but he, even though sometimes experiencing that pain, will still not react. It is like Shringi cursing Pariksith Maharaj. Shringi curses Pariksith Maharaj uttering harsh words, saying that, so what kind of a person is he? He's like the watchkeeper, like a dog in front of Brahmanas' house. How can he dare to dine with the Brahmanas coming inside their home? What other audacity is he? And more than that, he disrespected my father by garlanding with a snake. So I curse him that he disrespected my father by garlanding with a snake. Let him die by a live snake in 7 days. So like that Shringi curses. But Pariksith Maharaj did not react. He tolerated the words of the Brahmana child, considering himself like feeling himself like Mother Earth, which endures the ill words of everyone. And more than that is that the example for that is the patience and tolerance of the parents. The children always scold parents. They have so many demands on the parents. The parents do not fulfill. They are gone for a ride. So, but still the parents are enduring. They never revolt back. So like that Pariksith Maharaj, for Pariksith Maharaj, the Shringi is like a son because his own subject. So even though he cursed him to die, Pariksith Maharaj respectfully honored that curse and accepted. He did not punish the Shringi or any Brahmana community in that sense. So that is the nature of Pariksith Maharaj. So he had all these wonderful qualities. Pitamaha samasamye prasade girishopama ashraya sarvabhutanam yata devo ramashraya.
The child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthira or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the lord of the Kailasha hill, Shiva. And he will be the resort of everyone like the supreme personality of Godhead Narayana, who is even the shelter of the goddess of fortune.
Pitamaha sama samye. He is impartial to all beings like Yudhishthir. So different acharyas say Pitamaha means what? Sri Swami says that Pitamaha is Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the grandfather of all the living entities because all of us have Gotras. Gotra actually the name of the sons of Brahma. Brahma had various sons, various sages. Vashishta, Kapila, not Kapila, Vashishta, Bharadwaja, Pulaha, Kratu, and Atri, Marichi, and Kashyapa and others. Many sons of Brahma were called as Prajapatis. So they are our forefathers, and their father is Brahma. Brahma is our grandfather. That's why it's called as Pitamaha. So Pitamaha can be equated to Lord Brahma sometimes at the universal level, and in their family level, Pitamaha is Yudhishthira Maharaj, who is equal to everyone. Yudhishthira Maharaj is also very well known as Ajata Shatru, who has no enemies. So like that. So Pariksith Maharaj is impartial like to all beings like Yudhishthira or like Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is also impartial. Whichever demon performs austerities, he gives blessings. So he is eager to award blessings in that sense. So of course, so equal to all means everyone is own people, na. Yudhishthimara, everyone is own descendant, his own kingly people, citizens. So he treated everyone like his own children. And for Lord Brahma, everyone is his own. Lord Brahma is the creator of all of us. So how can he say, "Oh, you are nothing to do. I have nothing to do with you. So you get out, get lost from my home." Something like that. I can never say. Everyone is his own creation only. So everyone is somewhere or other his children, grandchildren, etc. So that is how he will have equal disposition towards all the living entities. And then Prasade Girishopama, he is easily satisfied Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is known as Ashutosh. Whoever comes to him, he is easy to fulfill their blessings. So that's why he sometimes is put into troubles. Whether it is Lord Brahma, whether it is Lord Shiva, because of their disposition, they are put into trouble many times. Lord Brahma gave the blessings to Hiranyakashipu. Whatever he asked. First he asked that I want to become immortal. Brahma said, I myself is not immortal. What immortal I can give you? Then he put wonderful condition. So I should not die in the daytime, night time, not by human being, not by animal, not by devatas, not by weapon, not by this, not by this, and not inside the home, not outside the home, not in the air, not in the land, and so many conditions. So what can be done? Brahma said, okay, and anyway I have to come to give blessings. I have to give. So he gave the blessings, because of which he went on disturbing all the devatas, all the killing of the Brahmanas, killing the cows, destroying the yajnas. All the devatas went to Brahma, and they told Brahma. Actually, before giving the blessing, only Brahma was cautioned by the devatas. So, my dear Brahma, please remember that this fellow is performing tapasya just to occupy your post. He want to dethrone you. So, don't give any such blessing. But Brahma gave a kind of blessing like that. He cannot be killed by any created being by Brahma. Anything that has been created by Brahma cannot harm Hiranyakashipu. Someone should come outside from the creation of Lord Brahma. So Lord Nrsimhadev appears at that time specifically, which is suitable to all the conditions of Hiranyakashipu, and kills him, neither during the daytime nor during the night time, nor inside the house nor outside the house, nor on the surface of the land nor in the air, neither with weapon. He is neither human being nor animal. He is neither Devata nor Surushi. And he simply kills him with his toenails. The 10 nails with what was that prayer we say every day? Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam. The Naka, the 10 in the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev are like Adbhuta Shringam. Shringam means chisel. The sculpture, in order to bring out the deity from the stone, he keeps hammering the chisel. So because of which small chips of the stone comes out. So the 10 fingers, the 10 fingernails are like the chisels, 10 chisels. The more important thing is that Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Brungam. Hiranyakashipu's body was like the Brunga. It is like bumblebee. Lord Vishnu's hands, the fingers are like Tamala. Tamal is also another name of lotus flower. His fingers are like soft like the lotus. The body of Hiranyakashipu is like hard like the bumblebee. Have you ever seen a lotus petal destroying the body of bumblebee? Is it possible? Even if you hold also bumblebee, it is very strong. The body of the bumblebee is very strong, like that. Its body, outer body is like that of tortoise. It is very strong, very you can't do it anything. So, but the Lord's toenails are like the lotus petals. The lotus flower is soft and lotus petals are very, very soft. How can a lotus petal can cut into pieces the body of Hiranyakashipu, which is like the body of a bumblebee? That is the greatness of Lord Nrsimhadev. So it is like that. So then later on, After killing Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev looks at Brahma and chastises him. Never ever do not make such kind of mistake. Never ever give such kind of benedictions to any such people.
Is it not a Sobla means like a Devta is someone is coming doing tapasya, then is Sobla should be zero.
हाँ दे दो बट थोड़ा सोच के दे दो ना देने के पहले थोड़ा देखो अभी यू आर द रेस्पॉन्सिबल फादर पर्सनालिटी इन द एंटायर यूनिवर्स यू आर सपोज्ड टू लुक आफ्टर द वेलबीइंग ऑफ द एंटायर यूनिवर्स by giving such benedictions you are only causing the trouble to the entire universe. Is it right? दे दो but so ध्यान से सोच के put some conditions if some buts. Yes, you will get all these benedictions only if you don't trouble Brahmanas, only if you don't cause disturbance to the yajnas, only if you don't kill the cows. Such kind of ifs and buts you should put. Something like that. This is I am adding. So something like that. It should be done. Then no problem. He will never dare to do it.
But they can put some such conditions.
Yeah, why not?
But they never put number. Problem is
What can but Mother Saraswati spoke those words from their tongue. So that is also the plan of Lord. We can understand like that. So Hiranyakashipu in one sense with his blessing could have lived for eternally. He could have lived. No, none of the created being of Lord Brahma can destroy him. All the way up to Brahma, no one can destroy him. He could have lived happily without causing trouble to anybody. But Lord Vishnu, when Devatas approached Lord Vishnu, he said that no problem. I will wait till though he troubles all of you, I don't mind. But when he starts troubling his son, I will not. Hiranyakashipu went home after listening to blessings of Lord Brahma. He kind of traveled out of the universe, defeated all the Devatas. Then he occupied the throne of Indra. Then he remembered his wife. His wife was in the ashram of Nardamani. His wife came home. The next day she delivered. Prahlad was born. When Prahlad was 5 to 6 years old, he died. कितना दिन रूल किया 5 साल only. What is the use of getting so many benedictions after performing tapasya for 10,000 years? He lived for only small time only. Maybe traveled here and there for a couple of decades, defeating Indra, Chandra, Varuna, all the Devatas. Then he came home and lived with his family members only for 5 years. So that is the situation. The entire universe is surrendered to him. Only one small kid, Prahlad, was not surrendered to him. That tormented him like anything. So that is the problem. So it's like that. So then, just like Lord Brahma is awarding such kind of benedictions, Lord Vishnu gave him warning. At other time, Lord Shiva was also put into trouble because they are supposed to offer benedictions. There was a demon known as Vrukasura. He was also performing severe austerities to please Lord Shiva to become immortal. So his austerities are like that. He did Ashtanga Yoga sometime, but there was no result. Then he started cutting off his flesh and offering that flesh into the fire sacrifice as oblation. Like whole body was having a lot of cuts here and there. Then he said that no, this Shiva is so adamant, is not coming and giving me blessing. He was getting ready to cut off his neck only. Then Lord Shiva appeared and told, please stop, don't kill yourself. So what do you want to tell? Then he said, on whomsoever head I put my hand, they should be burned to ashes. The Lord Shiva, he said, already promised that I'll give you whatever you want. So he gave, okay, please take it. Then the demon said that, you gave me blessing, but I'm not sure whether it works or not. I want to test it. So he wanted to put on the head of Shiva himself. So Shiva was in trouble. He was running here and there, left and right, left and right. Some pastime, some Puranas say that, other Puranas it said that Lord Vishnu appeared as a beautiful lady and came and told Vrukasura. So, my dear sir, this Shiva became mad after Daksha Yajna. Since his wife was burnt herself in the Daksha Yajna, since then he became mad. So don't believe in his words. So then, of course, I'm sorry, I'm combining both. Actually, what happened when Lord Vishnu came in the form of a woman? So the woman was dancing while he was running here and there. So he became very much attracted to that lady. So It's not Mohini, some other avatar. Not Mohini, can be called as Mohini, but some other avatar. So he became attracted to her. Then he said, I want to marry you. Then she said that if you want to marry me, you dance like me. If you cope up with my dancing, then I'll accept you as my husband. So she was dancing. At one point of time, she kept her hand above her head. So this fellow was so much attracted to her. He also kept his hand on his own head. So he was burnt to ashes. So eventually became known as Bhasmasura. So this story is mentioned in other Puranas. But Bhagavatam says that Lord Vishnu came as a small dwarf boy, like Vamana, small boy. So he comes in front of this demon, says that, so my dear sir, you are believing the words of him? Actually asks, so why are you running so hastily? So who is that person with snake in his neck running out of fear of you, being afraid of you? Then he said that is known as Shiva. He gave me a blessing. I am not sure whether that blessing works or not. I want to put my hand on his head, but he's running. So then that boy says that no, please don't believe him. He became mad after the death of his wife. He's simply running here and there. He speaks so many all these things, and he only associates with bhutas, pretas. Why are you believing him? Don't have any faith on his words. This boy speaks so lovingly. The demon was convinced. So how can you say that? His blessings and his Mahadev. You have any doubt? If you have any doubt, put your hand on my head. So still, if you don't believe me, put his hand on your head only. So this fellow becomes mesmerized by the words of the small boy. He puts his hand on his own head only. Burnt to ashes. So like that, by giving blessings, Lord Shiva put himself in trouble. Lord Vishnu comes and saves. So something like that. Of course, these people are so magnanimous. They don't worry about the future consequences. They are ready to bless. They are eager to bless in that sense. So this is their great nature. So Pariksith Maharaj also, those who surrender to him, he will bless. So the sages later on ask, why Pariksith Maharaj did not kill Kali? Why he only punished Kali? He could have killed Kali, so Kali would not come only. But he did not kill Kali. He only punished Kali. So there Acharyas, the Bhagavatam says that Nanudvesti Kalim Rajan Saranga Iva Sarabuk. Na Anudvesti Kalim Rajan. Parikshit Maharaj does not hate a person directly. He hates only the bad qualities of the person. Though Kali possessed so many hundreds of bad qualities, but he had one good quality. Saranga Iva Sarabuk. Parikshit Maharaj was like the Saranga. Saranga is also like honeybee or bumblebee, whatever it is. So what the honeybee does, it travels everywhere, but it does not go anywhere and everywhere. It only looks for the flower which has got some nectar. You only extract that nectar and it creates honey. So like that, even from filthy place, it only sees the good one. So like that, Parikshit Maharaj, even though Kali possessed thousands of bad qualities, but he had seen the only one good quality. What was that one good quality? Kananudvesti Kalim Rajan Saranga Yavasarabuk Kushalani Ashu Siddhanti Netarani Kritanija. Kushalani Ashu Siddhanti. In Kali Yuga, if at all a person just thinks about doing something good to others, will get the results of doing it. Even though one wanted to do it, just one has to think about good for others. That's how they will get the results of doing that good thing. Netarani Kritanicha. If at all one want to do bad to others, only when one does it, one will get the reaction for the bad. But in the case of good, just by thinking, one will get the results of good, doing good. That is the good quality of Kali Yuga. Seeing this good quality, Parikshit Maharaj did not kill Kali. Instead, punished Kali. That is the nature of Parikshit Maharaj. Like Pitamaha, like Girishopama. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj, from the very beginning, Duryodhana was doing left and right, trying to kill. Every time they knew, the five Pandavas knew, Kunti knew, but every time he forgave Duryodhana, considering him to be his cousin. He does not want to create lamentation for his uncle, Dhritarashtra. He always forgave. If Duryodhana would have stapled in the gambling match only stealing away the wealth of the Pandavas, Yudhishthira Maharaj would never wage war. He would never dare to wage war. He would have said, okay, this is our karma, it's okay, fine. It is only because Draupadi's honor was at stake. Lord Krishna insisted that Pandavas should fight. Pandavas fought. Otherwise, Yudhishthira Maharaj would never fought for the kingdom. That was the nature of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So it is like that. And then, of course, the next two lines are there. Ashraya Sarva Bhutanam Yato Deva Ramashraya. And is the shelter to all living beings like Lord Narayana. Lord Vishnu is the maintainer of the entire universe. He will protect everyone. Like that, he will take care of everyone. That is being mentioned. This Pitamaha is Yudhishthira. Samya means that he has hatred for no one. Ramashraya means the shelter of Lakshmi, Lord Narayana. So it's like that. So various things. Prabhupada talks about Ramashraya very nicely in the purport. So some details are mentioned about that. So then we'll continue. Of course, he talks about Yudhishthira Maharaj, he talks about Lord Shiva also. Of course, that same Vrukasura pastime is also spoken about in this verse. Then, next verse. The Brahmanas continue. Sarva Sadguna Mahatme Esha Krishnam Manurata Ranti Deva Ivodaro Ayati Riva Dharmika.
This child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps. In Meghna, great as King Rantidev, and in religion he will be like Maharaj Ayati.
Yeah. So in the previous purport, last couple of lines, Prabhupada says that only Lord Vishnu or his devotees can offer protection to all the living entities. No one can do that. So by default, Lord Prabhupada is indicating that a king is supposed to be a devotee of Vishnu. Then only they can do the needful. Otherwise, they cannot. So now the next important quality is that he is famous for all good qualities like Lord Krishna. Sarva Sadguna Mahatme Esha Krishnam Anurata. Just like Lord Krishna is the possessor of all good qualities, Pariksith Maharaj also is the possessor of all good qualities because he is Krishna's Anurata. He is the follower of Lord Krishna. Yashyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Yakinchane Sarvai Gunai Tatra Samasase Tura. In the 5th canto, Prahlad Maharaj was offering praise to Lord Nrsimhadev. In that he says, in the connection, he says that the devotees will always possess all the wonderful qualities of the Devatas. Yasyasi Bhaktir Bhagavati Yakinchana Sarvai Gunai Tatra Samasase Sura. So all the good qualities of the Devatas will be there in the personality of a devotee of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Harau Abhaktasya Kuto Mahadguna Manorate Nasati Davato Bahi. Harau Abhaktasya, for those who are non-devotees of Lord Vishnu, Lord Hari, Kuto Mahadguna, where can you find the good qualities? Even though they may display good qualities temporarily, like Kamsa was displaying wonderful quality at the time of his sister's marriage. Devaki and Vasudeva got married and he himself was driving the chariot as if he is very affectionate brother. As soon as he heard the Akashavani that the 8th child of your sister will be the cause of your death, he immediately wanted to kill the sister only. What to speak of the child? The child will come later. So what kind of good qualities does he possess? Few minutes back, he was acting like the most gentleman. And now he is acting as the worst kind of creature in this world. So something like that. Harau Abhaktasya Kuto Mahatguna. Because Mano Ratena Sato Davati Bahi. Like a unchaste Asati, the mind takes them. The mind, which is like the chariot, takes them across here and there. It does not stay, it does not go in one path. So, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadhavana Vidiyate. Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Samadhavana. What is that? Bhaktiyasiris. Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Taya Paharta Chetasa Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadhavana Vidiyate. Those mind is attracted to Bhoga and Aishwarya. They can never be in Samadhi. Samadhavana Vidiyate. Matlab they cannot be resolute in their determination. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadhavana Vidiyate. They will never be resolute in the determination because Taya Apaharta Chetasa, their consciousness is stolen away by the desires for Bhoga and Aishwarya. That is the problem. Kamsa is like that person. So any person, Haro Bhaktasya Kuto Mat Guna, even though they may display all good qualities, but how long they will display? When there is some disturbance to their enjoyment, that's all. They are not at all interested in showing all these good qualities. Immediately they show their real nature. So in that way. But Lord Krishna is not like that. Even under difficulties or otherwise, always shows good qualities. So Parikshit Maharaj is such kind of a gentleman. And is follower of Dharma like Ayati. Ayati Maharaj, he is generous like Rantideva. Rantideva past time is also very no. 9th canto, His Holiness Radharani Swami Maharaj spoke very well elaborately during 9th canto of class were going on. याद नहीं? You can read in the purport. Later on, Rantideva past time is also mentioned. Basically, Rantideva is also a very wonderful king. He comes in the dynasty of Lord Ram, the Surya dynasty, one of the wonderful king. So at one point of time there was Akal, famine. There was no food grain for the entire kingdom. So he, as a father, he did not eat for 50 days or something like that, 46 or 50 days. Whatever would come, he would always give to the needy. Whoever is needed, he would give to everyone. He did not eat for many days, 40, 50 days, something like that. Somehow or other, somebody gave some food. So he offered it to the lordships, the household deity. Then he divided the food into equal number of parts so that each part was given to his family members. Something like that. Then when he was about to eat, one Brahmana came, Bhavati Bhikshandehi. So he gave his own share to the Brahmana. The Brahmana ate and left. Then afterwards, one Shudra came. Then he gave the portion of his wife and sons to that Shudra. Portion of his wife. Then one Chandala came. He gave something more. Eventually, only water was left. If he don't drink the water, he will die. He only had some water. Then a dog keeper with a group of dogs came, saying that please, hungry, thoda kuch karo. Then he offered all the water to the dogs. So at that time, he offered a prayer. Of course, these prayers will come in the 9th canto. Very nice prayer. He says that if at all the Lord is pleased by my act of this saving their life, I am ready to perform, ready to go through death after death multiple times. I am not worried about my own well-being. Let others be live happily. So with that prayer, with that consciousness, he offered the water to the dogs. The dogs drank the water. And eventually, all these people resumed their forms. They were actually Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, and etc. All the devatas. They all became very much pleased with Rantideva. And immediately, the famine was removed. The kingdom became prosperous. Rantideva was awarded Krishna Prema. He eventually went back to Godhead. So it's like that. So his concern for the kingdom is like that. The people in his kingdom like that. And he is a follower of Dharma, like Ayati Maharaj. Ayati is very well known for the following Dharma. His glories are spoken in the Mahabharata. Of course, Prabhupada writes very nicely about Ayati Maharaj in the purport. You can read through. In the Mahabharata, where Adi Parva, very nicely, there is a wonderful description about Ayati Maharaj. You can read that. In this verse, they make one object of comparison with all the qualities. He is equal to Krishna in being glorious with all the good qualities. The previously for one quality, one example was given. But when it comes to Krishna, the possessor of all good qualities is compared to Lord Krishna. He possesses all good qualities. So it is like that. So then,
Tell us in short about Ayati Maharaj.
Ayati Maharaj.
In the purport, Prabhuji.
No, purport is there. So Ayati Maharaj actually comes in the dynasty of Chandravamsha only. So there was a king known as Nausha. He was very powerful, very wonderful. Because he was so glorious. After death, he was He had gone to, not even after death, even while living only, he was invited by the Devatas to Swarga. After killing Vrutrasura, Indra was punished for killing a Brahmana. Because Vrutrasura, he was the son of Tasta, he was a Brahmana. So as a result of Brahma Hatya, he was supposed to be undergoing some punishment. He was hiding himself in the Manasarovar lake, etc. That time there was no Indra. So Nausha was invited to heaven to be the Indra. So he became Indra. So his son was Ayati. So Ayati ruled over the entire earth like a perfect gentleman. He ruled very nicely. Of course, Bhagavatam Nantikanta talks about Ayati marrying Devayani and Sharmishta, begetting children. Later on, Shukracharya, the father of Devayani, understanding that he married Sharmishta, he cursed him to become old. So Ayati Maharaj had 5 children. The first one was Yadu, the last one was Puru. From the Yadu came the Yadu dynasty. The Krishna appeared from the Yadu's lineage. And from Puru appeared all the Pandavas. The Pandava dynasty comes from the line of Puru. So here one interesting thing is that, of course, from the Bhagavatam point of view, if you read the story, it seems to be very, yes, a big Sanskrit fair, something like that. Because the story goes like this. When Shukracharya comes to know that he married Sharmishta without prior knowledge of his daughter, Devayani, he curses him, may you lose your youth, you become old. So then the Yati goes to father-in-law. Shukracharya says that no, don't do like that. Your daughter will be in trouble. So in the sense, we want to live together for some more time. It is not good. Then he said that go and exchange your old age with your children, youth. First he goes to Yadu, and Yadu says that, my dear father, the Supreme Lord is going to appear in my dynasty. I don't want to have any contamination. And also I don't want to delay this. If I take your old age, you take my youth, I don't know how much time will pass. So I don't want to delay anymore. I don't want to put any contamination in my dynasty. The Lord is going to appear. So please kindly excuse me. So father understands the genuinity of the son. He says, Yadu, okay, my dear son, okay, no problem. Then he approaches other 3 sons like Turvasu, Dhruyu, and Anu. And they say that, no, my dear father, youth is pleasing to anybody. How can we trade our youth? The old age is filled with a lot of diseases. So we don't want to go through all the difficulties. So we cannot exchange our old youth with you. Father becomes very angry and curses them. You people become neglected kings. You will become selfish kings, something like that. So Prabhupada gives them that. From Turvasu came Turkish dynasty. The Yavanas came from Turvasu. And from Dhruyu came the Bhoja dynasty, in which Kamsa was born, etc. And from Anu came the Mlecha dynasty. Prabhupada writes them as Greeks. The Mlecha dynasty. The Mlechas and Yavanas are the descendants of Turvasu and Anu. And Bhoja dynasty. The famous personality who comes in the Bhoja dynasty is also our, what is his name? Of course, that time Kamsa, even in our recent history also, Chanakya, who was the counterpart of Chanakya? The bad king. Mahananda, Mahapadmananda, what was his name? क्या हिस्ट्री आप लोग कुछ जानते नहीं?
धनानंद.
Sorry?
Dhananand.
Mahananda? Dhanananda.
Dhananand.
Yeah, Dhanananda's father was Mahananda. Mahananda had 10 sons. One the eldest among them was Dhanananda. So Bhagavatam 12th canto says that somehow or other the good Kshatriyas were there all the way up to Mahapadmananda. Mahapadmananda and Dhanananda were like the Parshuram in a negative way. They destroyed all the Kshatriyas. And from them, only the Shudra quality Kshatriyas remained. The Kshatriyas by birth maybe, but the qualities are all Shudra qualities. So after Dhanananda, Mahapadmananda, there was no Kshatriyas, so to say. Maybe once in a while good Kshatriyas are there, might be there here and there. But at his time, he destroyed all the pious Kshatriyas, like another Parshuram. So that is the kind of dynasty of this Bhoja dynasty. So one among was
destroyed all the good kings.
all the kings, all the good kings. That's why Chanakya took a vow that I will destroy you. He trained Chandragupta in seclusion, in incognito, and eventually when he became youthful, he told Chandragupta, please kill this king. That is my Gurudakshina. Because he took a vow that unless and I kill you, I will never tie my shika. That was the vow taken by Chanakya at the beginning. So eventually Chandragupta killed him for some time. They ruled, Chandragupta dynasty went on for some time, good kingdom. But eventually again they were dethroned by this Mauryas. Not the Mauryas. The Mauryas are dethroned by again the Bhojas. Some of the follower descendants of this Dhanananda again killed them. So that was the history. So it's like that. So then Lord finally Puru agrees. Okay, my dear father, for your sake I'll agree. So Puru says that actually one interesting verse says that there are 4 kinds of sun. Not 4, I think we can be having 3 or 3. The best son is that as soon as some thought comes in the mind of the father, he should do it. Okay. And Uttama Chintita Kuryat. The best of the sons is as soon as the father thinks about something, the son will execute it without being told. The son should understand the desire of the father and do it. And Madhyakarutu Proktama. The mediocre son is if the father tells, he will do it. And the third class son is he will not do properly. He may do it, but in an improperly, not properly. That kind of son was Adama. The 4th class son is he does the opposite. He is like the urine of the father. So like that, Puru says and then tells that I sorry, I did not become the best of the sons. At least let me be the medium son, medium category son. Since you are asking me, I will do it. So he accepted the youth, he accepted the old age of the Ayati. And Ayati becomes so pleased that, so my dear son, your name will remain eternally. So apparently it seems that why he is doing that kind of, he is allowing him to become youth and he is blessing, not like that. He is seeing the quality of following the religious nature. So when somebody is in need, he is ready to offer his own life for others' purpose. So he says that your name will be glorified till the end of the history, till the end of the creation, and you will be the monarch for the entire Bhumandala. Though you are the youngest among all my sons, Yadu is supposed to be the next king, next monarch, but Yadu will, all the 4 other sons will never become the monarch. You will be the monarch. So everyone later on, whoever became the descendants in the line, whoever came in the line of the Puru, became the monarch. No one in the Yadu dynasty became the kings. Like that's why Lord Krishna never accepted the throne. Lord Krishna is so powerful, but he allowed Yudhishthira Maharaj to rule the throne. Because that was the condition of Ayati Maharaj. So Lord Krishna followed the condition of Ayati Maharaj. Though he is powerful, Yadus are powerful, he never allowed himself or Yadus to become the monarch of the entire kingdom. He just allowed the Pandavas who are coming in the line of Puru to continue. Of course, eventually he ruled very nicely for a long time. Eventually got detachment. He gave that life. He went to Swarga. In Swarga, he was living long time. So all such details are mentioned in the Mahabharata Adi Parva. So he is known for his religious nature, ruling the kingdom with proper Varnashram Dharma principles.
Father is also the descendant of
Yes, he is also the same lineage. Later on he was born. So it's like that. Okay, all the devotees are there online following us. Any questions till now?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So here, the next verse, the Brahmanas continue to say.
Haribo.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, my question is it? Yes, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yes. Go ahead.
All this king, means this king are from descendant of the Ayati Maharaj. So even in the time of this Kamsa and Jarasandha, those are also from Bhoja and this other dynasty. So at that time they are still considering Hastinapur as the main king, or they are subordinate?
No, they were all independent to Hastinapur king. They were all Though they were independent, but they were all subordinate to Hastinapur king. But they never wanted to be the subordinate. That's why Jarasandha was trying to perform that Narabali. He was trying to perform a sacrifice by offering 88,000 humans in a sacrifice. That's where Lord Krishna brought Bhima and killed him.
I mean, the Kansa also not, he was also not want to subordinate.
Yeah.
Because
Kamsa went and defeated all the devatas. So now he want to, he was about to start waging war against Hastinapur. But before that, only that Devaki and Vasudev's marriage happened. Things went in different directions.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for nice history. Thank you.
Dhrutya bali sama Krishne praharada iva sadgraha ahartaisho swamedana vruddhanam paryupasaka rajarshinam janayita shasta chotpatagaminam nigrahita kaleresha bhuvo dharmasya karana.
This child will be like Bali Maharaja in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlada Maharaja, a performer of many Ashwameda horse sacrifices and a follower of the old and experienced men. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome.
So here some of the other qualities are mentioned here. Having spoken of Pariksith Maharaj's qualities, now the Brahmanas are trying to describe his various activities. So what are the activities? He is as determined as Bali. Dhrutya Bali Sama. In determination, he is like Bali Maharaj. And he is absorbed in the most excellent Krishna, like Prahlad. Praharada Iva Sadgraha. Prahlada was requested by his father. More than that, he was ordered by his father. Don't ever chant the name of Vishnu. Stop. But Prahlada never stopped. Sadgraha. He accepted Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu as his object of worship. So in that way. He will perform our sacrifices and respect elders. Ashwamedanam ahartaise and Vruddhanam paryupasaka. He will respect all the elders. He will worship Ashwamedha sacrifices for the benefit of the people in general. He will have wise kings for descendants. Rajarshi Nam Janayita. His son was Janamejaya and such kind of sons were there. They were all also Rajarshis. Shasta Chotpata Gaminam. He will punish those who deviate from the law. He punished even Kali. And Nigrahita Kaler Esha Bhuvo Dharmasya Karanat. And he will punish Kali in order to produce Dharma on the surface of the earth. So these are the some of the activities that Pariksith Maharaj would perform in the future. So then Prabhupada writes in the 26th purport some of the important aspects of a ruler. The wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages are called wise, and there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless therefore the king or the head of the state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. The kingdom will have so many Brahmanas who are by nature wise. In order to help them and control them, the king also supposed to be wise. In the line of royal succession in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all the kings without exception were the wisest men of their times. And so also it is foretold about Maharaj Pariksith and his son Janamejaya, who was yet to be born. Such wise kings can become chastisers of the upstarts and protectors of Kali or quarrelsome elements. Of course, then Prabhupada writes about the later activities of Pariksith Maharaj. How did he receive Kali? How did he punish Kali? So basically, he only awarded the places for Kali where sinful activities will be going on, such as wine, women, gambling, and slaughterhouses. Those places are offered to Kali. And he protected Dharma, rest of the places. So, in that way. So then finally Prabhupada writes, the state fathers or the state leaders therefore must follow the principles of becoming wise by their devotion to the Lord. by chastising the breakers of discipline and by uprooting the symptoms of quarrel as mentioned above. If we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. Peace and morality can prosper only by the principles of Maharaj Pariksith and his followers. Otherwise, peace and prosperity cannot ever be available in this world. So these are some of the activities of Palashit Maharaj. In determination, he was like Bali, and in devotion, he was like Pariksith Maharaj, and he performs many Ashwameda sacrifices, and he was respectable to all the elders, and he will have great sons like sages, and for the sake of world peace and prosperity, he will chastise the upstarts like Kali. So as long as Parikshit Maharaj was ruling, also there was no influence of Kali. He ruled for 25 years. The kingdom was very nice. Afterwards, after the death of Parikshit Maharaj, Kali started destroying everything. So now the most important activity of Parikshit Maharaj is mentioned in the next two verses. Even this is also very well predicted at the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. Takshakadatmano mrutyum dvijapitropasarjitat prapashyata upasrutya mukta sangha padam hare jignashitatma yatartyo munervyasa sutadasau itvedam rupagangayam yasyasti adhakutobayam.
After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of a Brahmana, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the supreme personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him.
So this is the most important activity of his life. Hearing that, he will be killed by Takshaka, who was dispatched by a Brahmana's son. Detached from all things, he will worship the feet of the Lord. O king, having discerned the truth about the Lord, Jignasita Atma Yatartaha, from the son of Vyasadeva, that is Sukadeva Goswami, giving up his body on the bank of Ganga, he will certainly attain the Lord. Hitvedam Nripa Gangayam Yasyati Abda Akutobayam. So at the very birth, it was mentioned that he will be cursed by a Brahmana boy to be killed within 7 days, and understanding that he will become renounced of all his possessions. That's what we read in the 19th chapter later in the Bhagavatam. And he will take shelter of Ganga, he will take shelter of great sages, and he will understand the true nature of Atma. Jignasita Atma Yatartha. Yatartha means the true nature of something. So the true nature of Atma and Paramatma he will understand from Sukadeva Goswami, and then giving up his body, Itva Idam, giving up this material mortal body at the bank of Ganga, he will go back home back to Godhead. Akutobaya means the spiritual world without any anxiety. This material world is compared to be Kunta. Spiritual world is Vaikunta. So Akutobaya means without any fear, without any anxiety. He will go to that place. So like that, what will happen? What will be his destiny also predicted at the birth only. Everything is known about him at the very birth. So it is like that. So Prabhupada writes in the 28th verse purport. The beginning few lines are very important. We'll just read through. Material knowledge means ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. Material knowledge means ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. So we are proud of becoming engineers, doctors, lawyers, scientists, this, that. What is the nature of that knowledge? Ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. No Atma Yatartha. No knowledge about Atma. Philosophy means to seek after the right knowledge of one's own self, or the knowledge of self-realization, science of self-realization. Without self-realization, philosophy is dry speculation or a waste of time and energy. All our endeavors should bring us to self-realization. Otherwise, this is simply a waste of time. Without self-realization, philosophy is dry speculation or waste of time and energy. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right knowledge of one's own self And by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can get free from the material attachment and enter into the kingdom of fearlessness. Adda Aktobayam. So this is what happens by taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. The same thing will be mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami to Pariksith Maharaj at the beginning of second canto. So I have put a couple of verses. This is 215, the fifth verse of the first chapter, second canto. It is not there in the Prabhupada. Prabhupada writes them, but I'm just put the verses here. Tasmat bar sarvatma bhagavan ishwaro hari shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavya ichatabayam. If at all you desire fearlessness, so my dear Parikshit, kindly do Shravan, do Kirtan, okay? Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya, do Smaran, and Cha means Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Any of these 9 things, do it. For whom? Bhagavan Ishwaro Hari. Sarvatma, Bhagavan, Ishwara, Hari, whoever is called with these names. Whether he is called as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan, or Hari, whoever it is, hear about him, sing about him, and meditate upon him, worship him, and other things. That will give one abhayam, fearlessness. And then he says that Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janmalabha Parapumsham Ante Narayana Smriti. So if not, you cannot perform bhakti. If somebody is practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga or Sankhya means Jnana Yoga, Yoga means Ashtanga Yoga, Swadharma Parinishtaya means Karma Yoga. Even though one person might be practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, but as an end result of their practice of these sadhanas, Janmalabha Parapumsham, they should take birth with the remembrance of Lord Narayana, Ante Narayana Smriti. The end result of practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga should be that they should be getting a new birth with the remembrance of Lord Narayana. So after getting birth with the remembrance of Lord Narayana, you can practice Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc. Then attain perfection, go back to Godhead. Thus, the sages are declared that Etan Nirvidyamanana Michata Makuto Bayam Yoginam Rapa Nirnitam Harer Namanu Kirtanam. Yoginam, the great sages of the past have already declared that if at all one wants to get fearlessness, one want to go back home back to Godhead, which if at all one want to get Akuto Bayam, Ichata Makuto Bayam, Harer Nama Anukirtanam, one need to continuously chant the glories of Lord Hari. By doing that, what will happen? The result is mentioned at the end of the second chapter. Tasma Sarvatmana Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada. So, my dear king, Tasma, therefore, Sarvatman all. Sarvatmana means in all respects. With your body, mind, words, soul, everything. Employing this, what? Hari Sarvatra Sarvada, when and where? Sarvatra, everywhere, wherever you go. Sarvada, every time, day, night, evening, morning, everything, every time. What one is supposed to do? Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya, Cha. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Padasevanam, Dandanam, Dasan, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Perform any of these things. Unto whom? Bhagavan, Lord Vishnu. In all respects. By doing that, what one will get? Pibantiye Bhagavata Atmana Satam, Katamrutam, Shravana Putesh Samrutam, Punantite Vishaya Vidushitashayam, Vrajanti Tatyarana Sarorhu Ankitam. Those who drink the sweet pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, held in the cups of their ears, clean their heart of all contamination and attain the lotus feet of the Lord for service. So 2 things will happen by doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc. What happens? Those who have not developed Rati, those who have not developed Bhava or Prema, are directed to perform sadhana to attain Rati. So that's why the previous verse says that Tasma Sarvatmana Rajan Nari Sarvatra Sarvada Shrotavya Kirtavya Smartavya. A sadhaka at all time, at all places, supposed to practice Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam in order to come to Bhava platform. Okay? So that is sadhana. By practicing this sadhana at all times, at all places, one will come to Bhava platform. There, the Antakarana, the subtle body gets purified. The mind intelligence becomes completely purified. Then when they hear Krishna Katha, when they do Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam, that Shravanam and Kirtanam will be like a sweet drinking nectar. Now chanting 16 notes is a big endeavor. Yes or no? Maybe for you it may not be, but for me, yes. Chanting 16 rounds, hearing a Bhagavatam class attentively for sitting for 2 hours is a big endeavor. Especially after this lockdown, we have lost that habit of sitting in a classroom and hearing. Now our mobile is on and we go here and there to do many other things. By the way, we hear lecture. So this is what is happening with me, at least. So currently, since because of our conditioned nature, performing sadhana is very difficult austerity. But when it comes to Bhava platform, it becomes like drinking sweet nectar. Because by then, the Antakarana is completely washed off all the anarthas. And then finally, they attain the lotus feet of the Lord in order to serve him. Vrajanti tatcharana saroru hankitam. After coming to the prema platform, the devotee will go back home back to Godhead, where the devotee will have the opportunity to serve the Lord in person continuously for the rest of eternity. That is the final result. And Pariksith Maharaj attained that final result, having gone to spiritual world. That is what the sages are mentioning here. So like this, they have predicted what will happen in the life of Pariksith Maharaj. So thus prediction is over. Iti Rajna upadishya vipra jataka kovida labda pachitaya sarve prati jegmu swakan grihan.
Thus, those who were expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthira about the future history of his child. Then, being sumptuously remunerated, they all returned to their respective homes.
Yeah. Informing the king in this manner, the Brahmanas expert in astrology, after being worshipped by the King Yudhishthira Maharaj, returned to their houses. So now subject matter is completed. So the performance of Jatakaram ceremony is completed, everything is done, prediction is done, everything is done. They went back. So in this context, Srila Prabhupada writes one interesting point in the third line, the purport. The Vedas are the guides for the civilized man in every respect. Here even astrology is also part of Vedas. So that is also required important. Since human life is the opportunity to get free from all material miseries, it is properly guided by the knowledge of the Vedas in the matters of both material needs and spiritual salvation. So both Pariksith Maharaj's rule and his qualities are mentioned. His attainment of perfection also mentioned. Both are mentioned here very nicely. So in this verse, it talks about that Vipra. So Prabhupada talks about the Vipras, Brahmanas, and Vaishnavas. Vipra are those who know the knowledge of how to perform different rituals, different samskaras. The Brahmanas are those who know the knowledge of absolute truth. Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. And Vaishnavas are those who understand the essence of the Vedas. Vedas sarve. So that like that. So Vaishnavas are those who understand the essence of the Vedas, that Bhakti, and they become dedicated to the worship of Lord Vishnu. That is the gradation. Vipra, Brahmana, and Vaishnava. Vijay is twice born. The whoever go through the Upanayana ceremony, they are called Dvija. The Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmana, three of them are allowed to go through Upanayana Samskara. So at the time of Upanayana, they become Dvija. That means they are properly initiated by Guru into Vedic study and they get to study the Vedas. Getting birth is first birth. Getting the knowledge of scriptures is second birth. In that way.
Can you please repeat the first one?
Getting birth is first birth. Getting knowledge how to live in this world based on the Vedic instruction is second birth. So everyone is born and they will die. What is the use? So we should have the knowledge why are we living. So that is only obtained from the Guru. So that is the education begins with Upanayana Samskara. So that's why Upanayana is called as twice that second birth. So in that. Saesha loke vikyata Parikshit iti yat prabhu purvam drishtam manudhyayan pariksheta nareshiha.
So his son would become famous in the world as Pariksith, examiner, because he would come to examine all human beings in his search after the personality whom he saw before his birth. Thus, he would come to constantly contemplate him.
See the good fortune of Parikshit Maharaj. While he was in the womb, around 8th or 9th month or something like 7th or 8th month, he saw the Supreme Lord Vishnu only within the womb. After coming out of the womb, he remembered that person whom he saw in the womb. So what he was doing now? Because he constantly remembered the Lord whom he had seen in the womb and searched for him among all men. Sayesha Loka Vikyata Parikshititi Ya Prabhu. Purvam Drashtum Manudhyanam Pariksheta Naraviha. So after his birth, when he started walking, he starts looking at everyone. Are you the same person whom I saw in my womb? Something like that. He was keep examining everything. Pariksheta Naraviha. In this world, he was examining each and every male person. That's why he begot the name Parikshit Maharaj. Sayesha Loka Vikyata Parikshit Iti Yat Prabhu. He will be known as Parikshit because he will examine everyone. Whomsoever he will come across that. Is it you came in the womb and saved me? Something like that. See the good fortune of this child. So Prabhupada actually expands on this particular theme that Parikshit Maharaj good fortune that from the very birth he was Krishna conscious. So children should be given good samskaras. Then they become devotees. The name Parikshit is explained. Remembering the person he had seen in the womb, he pondered, is this the person or not? So in all the people he saw, that person whom he saw in the womb. So now the interesting point in the purport is that once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed in one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstances. The children, whatever they see, whatever they hear in their childhood will be remembered for the entire life. So just like here, since Parikshit Maharaj saw that form in the womb, he remembered that form for the entire life. He never gave up. So then Jiva Goswami says in the next paragraph, Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection that every child, if given an impression of the form of the Lord, from his very childhood, certainly becomes a great devotee of the Lord like Maharaj Parikshit. One may not be as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit to have the opportunity to see the Lord in the womb in his mother. But even if he is not so fortunate, he can be made so fortunate. He can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. He may not see the Lord, but he may get to hear about the Lord. That's why many of our devotees, they recommend Matajis when they become pregnant, read Krishna book. Even after childbirth also read Krishna book, so that the child will hear at least Krishna Katha. Like Abhimanyu heard from Lord Krishna about Chakravyuha in the womb. Like Prahlad Maharaj heard about Lord Vishnu while he was in the womb of his mother Kayadu from Narada Muni. So like that, if the children are given good samskaras in the very childhood, they will be Krishna conscious. Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj says that, what is that verse? Prahlad Maharaj ka verse kya hai? Kaumanam Yavaram Jara Bhagavad Gita verse. Kaumaram Acharit Prajno Dharman Bhagavataiha. So one should start practicing Bhagavad Dharma, Shravanam Kirtanam, starting from Kaumara age. Kaumara age is from 1 to 5. 1 to 5 only one should start practicing Bhakti. Not after 25 years after coming to IAS. So that is what is expectations from Bhagavatam. Starting from the age of 1, the children can be engaged in some activity. So up to 1 year, they are like very much infant. They completely depend on the mother. But after 1 year, they start walking. They can bring something. They can do something small things. So in that way, they can be assisted in the execution of many deity worship activities, etc. So in that way, Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumaram Acharat Prajna, because Durlabham Manushan Janma, getting human birth is very rare. Out of 84 lakh species, getting human birth with the remembrance of the Lord is very rare. Good fortune of getting in the family of devotees is also very rare. Tadapi Adurvam Artadam. So it is very rare, but if at all one gets, one should make the best use of bad bargain. That's what Prabhupada writes. Kamala Dala Dala Jivana Talamala.
Remember the
Yeah, something like that. So that is the importance of giving good samskaras for the children. So last couple of verses we'll try to complete this chapter. Sarajaputro vivruddhe ashu shukla iva udupa apuryamana pitrubhi kashta birivasonvaham.
Just at this time, King Yudhishthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with the kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside the fines and tax collection.
Okay, this verse talks about the growth of Pariksith Maharaj. All of us are very familiar with the concept of waxing moon and waning moon. On the Amavasya, we don't see any moon. And Purnami, we see full moon. So like that, for day by day, being taken care by 5, in one sense, Parikshit Maharaj had no father. Abhimanyu died already. The 5 Pandavas treated Parikshit Maharaj as their own child. So for Parikshit Maharaj, the 5 Pandavas are not grandfathers. They're like 5 fathers. And Uttara, Draupadi and Subhadra are like 3 mothers. So, and then many others, family members are there. Kunti Maharani was there and many other family members are there. They all took care of him very nicely. Just like the moon grows from Amavasya to Paurnami very nicely, being surrounded by so many stars, being surrounded by all these wonderful personalities, Parikshit Maharaj grew up very quickly. He became like full moon, like full youth. It's like that for a period of time. Yakshamanoshamedena Jnatidroha Jihashaya Raja Labdadano Dadyo Nanyatra Karadandayo. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj, desiring to rid himself of the sin incurred by killing relatives by performing a horse sacrifice, began to consider whether there was an alternative to force or tax to attain wealth for the sacrifice. So previously, many of the Brahmanas is told that, don't worry, my dear Yudhishthira, you have not killed all these warriors for the sake of your throne. That is to be done inevitably. But anyway, if you think like that, you can perform Ashwameda sacrifice. That time he gave so many reasons. But later on, Bhishma told, he convinced. Now he wanted to perform Ashwameda sacrifice after the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. But he has no wealth because the battle was so huge, the entire kingdom became bankrupt. So he was thinking that if he has to get money, either he has to get money out of force or he has to tax all the people. But that he does not want to do. He is looking for any alternative. In any other alternative way, he can get money. Then Lord Krishna inspires them where they can get money. So that is mentioned in the next verse. Tad abhipretam alaksha bhrataro achyuta chodita dharmam prahinam majahrur udicham dishi purisha.
Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north, left by King Murutta.
Understanding his intention, the intention of Yudhishthira Maharaj, his 4 brothers, being inspired by Lord Krishna, they went to greater Himalayas. They were informed by Lord Krishna that in the past, the King Marut, we generally say that he is called King Marut, he performed a great Ashwamedha sacrifice, during which every object used in that sacrifice was made of gold. That time there was so much gold. Even the plates in which the Brahmanas were fed, all the guests were fed, they are made of gold. The spoons are golden spoons. The seats are golden seats. The sacrificial arena is made up of gold. The entire canopies, the buildings, all the gopurams, everything is made of gold. The gold was so much, the Brahmanas were given so much charity of gold, they could not carry. They have taken only as much they need, remaining all they threw there. They went back. The king also did not need any gold. The gold was lying in the greater Himalayas there only. The Lord Krishna informed Pandavas. The 4 Pandavas went and extracted that entire gold, brought it. So Yudhishthira Maharaj used that gold for performing 3 Ashwamedha sacrifices. So this Marut's sacrifice is very nicely described in the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, when Ravanasura was traveling from place to place, defeating all the kings, he even comes to this Himalayas where Marut was performing sacrifice. That time Marut was so powerful, he said he will go and fight with this king Ravana. He will kill him. But the priests, the sages told that no, Since you are performing yajna, you cannot go. You cannot get up from the activity. You say Ravana that I am accepted defeat from you, he will go. He just want to be the victorious. He is not interested in fighting or something. If you say no, he will fight. Otherwise, he will not fight. Then King Maruta said, okay, I am defeated. Ravana went back. Sacrifice continued. But one interesting thing happened during the sacrifice is that in that sacrifice, all the devatas were there. Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Yama, everyone was there. When Ravana came, they all became afraid. Devatas became afraid. Maruta did not become afraid. The devatas, in order to hide themselves, they changed their form. Indra became peacock. Yama became crow. So like that, various devatas became various species. They were all flocking on the water pond here and there. So Ravana came and accepted victory from Maruta and then went back. So then all the devatas resumed their form. When they resumed, they gave blessings to these particular animals. So one thing is that Indra said that since I have taken the form of a peacock, the peacock will have thousands of eyes like me. Indra is having thousands of eyes all over his body. So peacock also will have so many eyes. Yes, peacock feather, every peacock feather has one eye. Then he also said that I am the in charge of the rain. Whenever I rain, peacock will become happy and dance. That is the blessing of Yamaraj to peacock. Blessing of Indra to peacock. And then Yamaraj blesses the crow. So Yamaraj says that those people, either pious or impious, will come to my abode. The impious will come to my abode, they will be punished in Yamaloka. The pious will come to my abode and they will be staying in the Pitruloka. Whoever they may be. And their descendants, whenever they offer Shraddha in the name of their deceased parents, that Shraddha should be accepted by a crow. If at all a crow accepts the Shraddha, that will directly come to their deceased family members. And they will benefit from that. If somebody is in hell, if the Shraddha is offered to the crow, crow accept it, they will be delivered from hell. If somebody is in Pitruloka, their tenure in Pitruloka will extend. That was the blessing given by Yamaraj to the crow. And another blessing is that Doshan Shraddha ceremony. So every Shraddha, the offering should be offered to crow. Crow should be eating. And another blessing to the crow is that the crow can live as long as it wants. The crow cannot be subjected to natural death. It cannot be subjected to disease. It has long life. Many times we see the crow hanging from the electric line because it's coming in between two electric lines. The R phase, B phase, it gets killed. Otherwise, the crows live for long. That is another blessing of Yamaraj. Crows have long life. So like this, they blessed them. So that all happened in this sacrifice of Maruta. So that's where a lot of gold was there. And Krishna told them, please get the gold. They went and got all the gold. And they performed. Yudhishthira Maharaj performed not one, 3 sacrifices at one go. Tena Sambruta Sambaro Dharmaputro Yudhishthira Vajimedai Stribirbito Yagnai Samaya Jadarim.
By those riches, the king could procure the ingredients for 3 horse sacrifices. Thus, the pious king Yudhishthira, who was very fearful after the battle of Kurukshetra, pleased Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Yudhishthira, the son of Dharmaraja, collecting the ingredients for the sacrifice by the wealth through this gold which Pandavas brought, worshipped the Lord by 3 hour sacrifices, since he feared the sin of killing the relatives. So it's like that. So with that gold, which was brought by Arjuna, Bhima and other Nakul Sahadeva from the great Himalayas, Yudhishthira Maharaj collected all the ingredients and performed 3 wonderful Ashwameda sacrifices for the well-being of the people in general, for his own well-being, and he pleased Lord Krishna. Everything is done in the presence of Lord Krishna only. Lord Krishna was personally present while he is performing the sacrifice. Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna Yajayitva Dvijay Nripam Uvasa Katachinmasan Suhrudam Priyakamaya Tato Rajna Bhunajnata Krishnaya Sahabandhubi Yayaudvarvatim Brahman Sarjuno Yadubirvrita.
Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaja Yudhishthira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified twice-born Brahmanas. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, Lord remained a few months. O Saunaka, thereafter the Lord, having bade farewell to King Yudhishthira, Draupadi and other relatives, started for the city of Dwaraka, accompanied by Arjuna and other members of the Yadu dynasty. Hare Krishna.
Lord Krishna called there by Yudhishthira. Previously, at the time of battle, Lord Krishna came. So we have seen all the other pastimes. Lord Krishna went to Dwaraka. Now, after the birth of Pariksith Maharaj, when Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to perform this Ashwameda sacrifice, Lord Krishna was again invited. Lord Krishna was personally supervised the performance of 3 Ashwameda yajnas and had the king perform the sacrifice with the Brahmanas and stayed there for some months to satisfy his friends. Taking the permission of the king, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Draupadi, Subhadra and other friends, Lord Krishna then departed for Dwaraka along with Arjuna, being surrounded by Yadus. So this time when he was going back, he took Arjuna along with him to Dwaraka, so that Arjuna can spend some time in Dwaraka, something like that. So like that, the birth of Pariksith Maharaj was narrated, starting from 7th chapter all the way up to 12th chapter. So Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.